MPH graduate, Melissa Rivera. Melissa.
Thank you, Dean Samet. Whoa. Hey. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the 2019 Colorado School of Public Health Convocation. It's pretty cool to be up here right now, I'm not gonna lie. Thank you so much to our guests for attending today. You have played an instrumental role in our education, and we really cannot thank you enough. And this goes for the faculty at the Colorado School of Public Health as well. We are inspired and motivated by the work you do, and we are so grateful for your guidance. And congratulations to my fellow graduates. I'm gonna go off script for a minute and just say, it was so hard to think of the words to say today to you all because the work you do is just so profound, and it's moving, and it's monumental. And I'm not crying, you're crying, so. But our work has taken months or years to complete, and we did it, so nice work. I began the MPH program in 2015, which was the same time I started a family. 2 kids later, I can certainly say that it was a little bit of a juggle balancing parenting, school, and work. So I really owe a big thank you to my family today for everything that they have done. Back in 2013, before I had ever heard of public health, I began working in Fort Collins at a Title I elementary school, and this school has a 90% poverty rate and a 30% homelessness rate. And while I was told these kids would need some support, I had no idea what that meant. Shortly after starting, I began to hear daily stories of homelessness, abuse, and poverty. And these stories were not the exception, they were the rule. I was exposed to a lived experience vastly different from my own, and the more time I spent at the school, the families became my families, and those kids, they were my kids. These families could not afford food or diapers, and they often had to choose between staying at home with their sick child or keeping their job. Because you need a doctor's note to get an excused absence, and where you're on Medicaid, it is nearly impossible to get your child in for an appointment. For some of my students, I rode a new bus pass every day because home was different every night. Out of necessity, I learned the bus stops for the shelters, motels, and missions. And I experienced my own privilege when I witnessed a parent explain to her son why she could not protect him from an escalating political climate. She is an undocumented immigrant, so she can't vote. But worse, she felt fearful and disenfranchised just being in her own community. It was really apparent to me that the trauma caused by poverty was causing harm to my students and my families. And the following year, my grandfather and I had a really deep conversation about the work I was trying to do when he passed away a few days later. I really took it to heart. Like I said, I'm not crying, you're crying. I really took it to heart that his final advice to me was to pursue this degree. And so I didn't think I could do it, but I applied to the certificate program and then later to the MPH program at UNC. And I was really hopeful I would gain the tools that I really needed. So like I said, I didn't know what public health was until this conversation with my grandfather. And students and faculty alike, we are frequently asked, what is public health? So after almost 4 years of immersing myself in the work, here is what public health is to me. Public health is the air you breathe, the food you eat, the water you drink, and it is the environment in which you live. It is everything that touches your life, keeps you whole, and moves you forward. Public health determines your longevity, and it defines your capability. Public health is also the unspoken joy found in our homes and in our communities. And joy has been a popular topic this year, so if you spend any time on social media, you have certainly heard of Marie Kondo and the KonMari method of tidying up, right? Okay. So for those of you who don't know about Marie Kondo, she has this method of tidying up, right? And it works so that to simplify your life, you only hang on and keep things which spark joy for you. And if something does not spark joy for you, you must thank it for all it has taught you before you discarded it. And so I can confirm that showing gratitude works, not only because I watched the entire first season and purged a lot from my closet, but because when you give before saying goodbye, it demonstrates that you have considered your options, and you have decided that what should be is better than what is. So, with Marie Kondo in mind, I have one question for my fellow graduates to consider today. What is it that sparks joy for you? Because we have completed a breadth of work which is complex, dynamic, evidence-based, and yes, joyful. Side by side, we have worked to promote health equity, and when the programs and policies we create are successful, we see health improve and we see joy flourish. And while we know that the concept of health equity, the attainment of health, the highest level of health for all people is not complex, we will spend the rest of our lives experiencing how complex people are and how the convergence of power, institution, and health is even more complicated. So graduates, I will change the question I just asked. As a student of public health, what does not spark joy for you? And how will you say thank you and goodbye so that your work creates a brighter future? Because as newly minted public health professionals, there's work to be done. So, I urge you, investigate the intersection where public health meets policy, community, and institution. We must make health accessible to everyone, no matter their identity, place of origin, or belief system. I invite you, question power and how we use it. Be the loudest voice in the room and ask if the way we have always done it is the right way, and if this way gives everyone a fair opportunity. And finally, I beg you, I beg you to call out practices such as redlining, gerrymandering, and migrant detention. Because when groups are marginalized and punished just for being different, you have to stand up for what you believe in and what is right, even when, and especially when, it doesn't directly impact your daily life. Because to enter the field of public health is to open your heart and your mind to the experiences of others. In this field, we must be vulnerable and kind while balancing being fierce and unshakable. We must be humble and recognize our own privilege so that we can figure out where we fit into the work we do. And we must be willing to give and give and give and give, so that even if just one person benefits from our efforts, it's a victory. So I learned much of this from my classmates, because you guys are awesome. And I have watched how our intuition to spark joy, it's a part of who we are. And whether we know it or not, we made a clear decision to seek out and to choose a life of joy when we applied to the Colorado School of Public Health. So I also learned from the families at my school, and they taught me that the power of sparking joy, it's not mine to hold or to give or to take, because the only way to ignite joy in others is to kindle your own work with love, authenticity, and with dedication. So for me, it was the joy of the students, getting a quality free breakfast at school, because as the kitchen manager, I did not allow processed food to be served in my cafeteria. So today I would like to say thank you, chocolate muffins, and goodbye. You have taught me that muffins are simply cupcakes in a breakfast disguise. For me, it was also the joy of my colleagues while I was the school secretary. We were asking community groups to help with school supplies, winter gear, and as expected, the most important of all, birthday goodies. Because as a staff, we said, we can't do this alone. We can't. And thank you for the help. Goodbye to the heartache we all experience when a family can't afford a new coat or a special birthday treat. And it was the joy of the parents, knowing that as a school nurse, I would protect their child regardless of immigration status, because I made a conscious choice to say, I am so thankful for the opportunity that my boys have, and I believe your child has every right to those same opportunities too. So goodbye. Goodbye to the idea that nationality determines the value of a child's future. And despite the daily traumas that my communities face, that my families and my children at the school faced, I have learned the most important lesson that I've ever learned. And once again, I'm not crying, you're crying. Every parent loves their child so fiercely that it hurts. And we do the best we can with what we have, but the reality is that without access to health, families do not have access to a life of joy. So, if there's one thing to take away from what I am sharing with you today, it is this. I challenge you. I challenge each and every graduate, faculty member, family, and friend in this room today to take your passions and your skills and build a future where everyone has a fair chance at health, at life, and at joy. Because since starting this program, I have been given the gift of so much joy. And as my fellow graduates have worked, you've worked so hard as well. I know you have been given the same gift too. Because love brings forth an amount of joy which can never be extinguished, and we love public health to our core. So today, I would like to say goodbye to health inequity, to the systems, policies, and institutions which perpetuate health disparity. You do not spark joy for me, so thank you for showing me that we are all equal, we all deserve health, and we all deserve to live a life full of joy. I think my grandfather would think I was doing okay. You know, my kids are here. We'll have that tomorrow. Feels pretty good, right? So thank you to him for pushing me to pursue this. And graduates, I want to remind you that the world needs your magic to tidy up our communities so that every generation is healthier than the next. We are shifting the paradigm in which access to health is a right and not a privilege, and where the concept of health equity is simply becoming the concept of health. Continue to pursue your work with gratitude and with joy, because it only takes a spark to light a fire.